friends, welcome back to our channel. I'm Steph.
And I am Michelle, and this is episode 9 of our basement renovation one-room challenge.
And today we have a really unique DIY project idea for you, building these console tables, and we upcycled them from a whole different piece of furniture, so keep watching to see what we did. We're just working on some last minute projects for the basement renovation. We have 2 benches and a dining table that we picked up last year for the laundry room one-room challenge. We actually used the top for the dining table as our tabletop for the laundry room fold table. And we are going to utilize the rest of these pieces and turn them into 2 console tables for our basement. We've got the legs of the dining table here, and we are going to cut it in half so that we can use both sides for the console table that we're going to do. So we've marked the center, and then since there are holes up here, we just marked a 1/2 inch on each side. So we're going to cut on those lines there to get our 2 halves. And then down here, we are going to trim off this little bit so that when we are left with just this half, it is nice and straight. Otherwise we would have this coming out, and then this side would have nothing to rest on. We used a straight edge, clamps, and our circular saw to make all of these cuts, and it didn't take much time at all. We felt like the foot of the table was poking out just a little bit too far, so we also just used the table saw to cut some of the bulk off so the leg wouldn't protrude farther than the actual tabletop. So we did need to add a little bit of height to the table so that it would be about the same height as our sectional. So we are using some scrap pieces from another dining table that we are actually upcycling into a coffee table, which we will have for you here in a couple weeks. And we're just cutting them to the same width as the legs. And then we're using a wood drill bit and making some holes that we will actually put screws through to screw these onto the bottom of the legs. And it will just give us that extra few inches of the height we need, and the screws will be nice and flush up inside those holes. Then we took a drill bit and made some pilot holes for the screws, and we're able to secure these onto the bottom of the legs. So we put a little bit of wood glue down first just to make sure that everything would be nice and secure, and then we went ahead and put the screw into place and let everything dry. To get the correct height for the sofa table, we're also going to put this, was it a 2x6?
It's a 2x6, yeah.
That we cut down into 4 different pieces, and I have made some holes for the screws to go through. We're just going to secure that to the top of each of these legs, and then this will give us just the perfect amount of height, and then we'll secure the tabletop onto this by drilling up through there. Again, we're just going to add a little bit of wood glue and then center this piece of wood onto the top of this leg, and you can just check that with a measuring tape to make sure that you have it nice and centered. We secured the screws, and now we're ready to get painting. So we are using chalk paint on these legs, and even though that should bond well, we did give the legs a little bit of a light sanding first, mostly for the fact that these tables were a little bit dinged up, and we just wanted to start with a little bit smoother surface. So we added a couple of coats of chalk paint to these and let them dry. After the paint has completely cured, we took a little piece of sandpaper and distressed the edges just a little bit, just to make it look a little bit worn and aged.
Now that we've lightly sanded the legs for this sofa table, since it's chalk paint, we do want to put a coat of wax on it. So I'm just going to use a clear wax and rub it over the entire surface.
Adding wax to chalk paint is a really important step. This is going to help prevent water from getting into the wood, and it's also going to give a layer of protection from staining and just give it a little bit more durability. To make the tabletop for these console tables, we took the wood bench tops off of the bench base and we gave them a light sanding. They were pretty dinged up as well. This also took off the varnish that was on there. Then we applied a pre-stain wood conditioner. This is going to help the wood absorb the stain equally, so you won't be left with dark or light spots and splotchiness. So we just applied it on and followed the directions, allowed it to dry for about 30 minutes before applying the stain. Then we applied a thin coat of stain and let that penetrate into the wood for about 15 minutes. After that, we took a lint-free cloth and just wiped off any excess stain that was still remaining, and then we allowed it to completely dry.
This is what the wood looks like for our sofa tables after we've done one coat of stain, and we're really not happy with it. It's still a little bit too yellow. This must be a yellow pine, and we really don't love the yellow color. So the plan is to do the same technique that I used on my laundry room fold table. And what I did with that is I did a combination of clear wax and dark wax over the wood surface, and that aged it a little bit and darkened up and took down some of that yellow color that's in the wood itself. So that I don't contaminate the wax in the can, since I only have one waxing brush, what I'm going to do is scoop out some of the clear wax onto a paper plate. And then I'm going to take some of that dark wax as well, and then I can pick up each color and use it on the table without getting it contaminated. First, I'm going to pick up some clear wax on my brush, and I'm just going to work that into the table. I want to have a layer of clear wax down before I start putting the dark wax on, and that will help control the dark wax a lot better. If you put dark wax directly onto unsealed raw wood like this, it will be really dark and it's much more difficult to control the color. So I'll do a little section of clear. And then what I'm going to do is pick up a little bit of the dark wax and kind of blend it here. And then I'm just going to work it into the wood. And now you can see that it's starting to tone down some of that yellow color that's in the wood itself. So once again, I'm picking up a little bit of the clear wax, and I'm going to pick up a little dark wax and blend them. And I'm going to work my way down the piece of wood. One of the beauties of using the dark wax like that is you can see the little imperfections here in the wood. Let's see if I can point those out to you. So right here, you've got some little imperfections because this is old reclaimed lumber that we're using. Anyway, you're going to see that the dark wax is going to go in those spots and help it age and look more beautiful.
Once the wax has completely dried, we're just using our power buffer to buff off any excess wax. Now, you don't need one of these. It is pretty handy. It goes quickly, but you can just use a lint-free cloth and just rub with your hands as well. Since we applied a layer of clear wax to the legs, we also took the buffer to these and just buffed off any remaining wax as well. Now we are going to drill some pilot holes into the piece of wood that we added to the top of the legs. This is just going to make it a little bit easier for us to screw the legs onto the tabletop. And we've put a piece of frog tape on our drill bit to help us know how deep we need to drill. Now we're taking a countersink bit and making the little groove that the screw can sit down in. Then we used 2.5-inch screws and secured the top of the legs to the underneath side of the tabletop. And I'm securing them in a diagonal fashion just a little bit to make sure that my leg doesn't wiggle around. Then I went through a second time to tighten everything up. And here's a look at the completed sofa tables. We're pretty happy with how they turned out. Kind of clever. It was my mom's idea. I'll give her full credit because this furniture has been sitting in her basement and she wants to get rid of it. So I don't blame her. So turning 2 benches and legs from a dining table into 2 console tables. Let us know down in the comments below if you like this idea or if you would have done things differently. We always love hearing from you and hearing your comments and questions. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not already so that you don't miss any of our other DIY videos for home projects. And again, thanks so much for watching. We love having you here. And as always, here at Sunnyside Design, we hope to bring your home to the sunny side of the street.